All right, guys, Copper Cutlass here. So today I'm going to talk about gas tanks and venting. Um, some of you guys with classic cars may realize that when you go to the gas station and fill up, sometimes you get some serious spitback. And part of that is because these old gas tanks don't have adequate venting for modern pumps, which are meant for contemporary modern cars. So this is the gas tank out of the Bonneville. It is your standard 3-line sending unit. You got a feed, you got a return, and you got one that goes to the canister. So pretty much 3/8 in, to the carb or the fuel pump. You got a return, and this is your vent. So I found a way to add venting where it's really needed, but I'm going to explain to you guys. So this is perfect. We had a pickup truck at work that came in and somebody just lopped off the filler neck. I want you guys to see how many lines are right there, right? Just look at all that. And look at the diameter of the inlet. It's almost the same diameter as most of your nozzles at the pump. So you have a check valve here. This is a one-way valve, so it releases vapors only under pressure. You got a canister here, which is this is a small charcoal canister. Check that out. That comes out of either your evap canister or your tank. Chances are this comes out of the evap. And then you have another breather line here, right underneath. Let's remove this. Right here. So there's a breather right here. Now think about that. There is 3 vents for this neck alone. The only car where I can truly tell you that you can take a quick look at is like the Nissan Sentras or Versas. They have a charcoal canister right at the rear body panel that is massive. And it's got lines this big. That is a lot of venting. When you're filling up your gas, right, people want to get in and out of the gas station. So speed at the pump has been raised. Modern cars have been adapted to, accommodate that. Now with our old cars, they pressurize under that situation, and that vapor, the nozzles at the pump have a check valve themselves for safety precautions to stop the pump. Now what happens when you stop the pump is, as the fuel is flowing, it's constantly pushing everything in. And once it stops, it comes out. Because that motion that was pushing away all the vapor and the fumes and everything stopped. And so I'm going to end up modifying this, and this is going to be a really good video. I'm not going to do that this week, and I have other things to do, but I had this on my mind. It came in the other day, and I'm like, this is perfect to show you guys, because working on my buddy's 69 Impala was one of the problems. You couldn't fill that car up. You could not fill it up. We added a return. We added this. We added that. What ultimately I think ended up working the best was, and by working the best was, I managed to pump up $15 of gas without having one single spitback. It was impossible to fill that car up. So what I ended up doing was, I'm going to flip this tank up. There's still a little gas in there, not a lot, but I added a vent in the neck. So what we ended up doing is we bought there's neck kits, I think, that Moroso sells and other vendors sell, that comes with the rubber hoses that you clamp on. Well, that piece of metal that comes with the cap, you drill a hole in it, and then you run a piece of 3/8 tube down to just about the bottom of the neck here. So what that does is, you're going to have to place that tube venting above where the nozzle sits. So if you can imagine, now let me use this for a good example. So let's say your fuel nozzle that you're going to fill your gas tank with is commonly maybe about this long, right? So it's going to go in that far. You want to vent it somewhere between where you think it's going to bottom out and the top, because those fumes have to rise above the point where it actuates the check valves in the nozzle of the fuel pump. So at the gas station, of course. So what I ended up doing was I ran a 3/8 line down through the neck, further down, and venting above the fill point of the nozzle. And that fixed it. Now we did add a return. I did notice that this car didn't have nearly as much spit back when I had the EFI and I had the returns and everything on there. When I had the single gas line though, you couldn't fill this car up. You could not fill it up in one shot. It would spit back at you. And I have read online on pages where guys have the similar problem, and I've told guys the tank needs venting. It's pressurizing while you're filling up. That's the only reason it spits back. And it's not the fuel pump's problem. It's the fact that we're driving 50, 60-year-old cars. The contemporary pumps of their time were much slower. And when you compare like a modern neck, yeah, of course, it's got a one-way check valve. It's got it's got a vent line to the neck that goes in here. It's got another canister here. Like, I'm sure this is a charcoal canister right here, which I'm going to 100% say that's what this is. This is a breather for the evap to release fumes so the tank does not pressurize. So the problem you're having at the pump is pressurizing. You need to vent the tank. And I found that if you run all of the proper vent lines that you're supposed to, and you add a vent in the filler neck, it alleviates the problem significantly. So I thought this was a good point to share with you guys. I'm going to be doing that to this car, as we are going to be going back to a carburetor. I am going to be running the return lines, and I'm going to try to find a charcoal canister to run to, vent it properly. I know that on some of the GMA bodies there was a little charcoal canister in the rear package tray area, but ultimately this is a issue that is cured. And there's some tanks that have just like open vents. On some cars they would literally vent into the trunk. I recently found this out on older cars, but the whole idea is just to not pressurize the tank. It needs to vent out one way or another. So this was a great example to show you guys just how well vented modern cars are and why you might be experiencing spit back at the pump with your classic car. So that's pretty much it for today. That was a good thing for me to bring up with you guys. We dealt with that on my buddy's car. We tried so many things. And ultimately, I believe I filled it up once. I don't know if he's filled it up since, but I was able to put like $15 of gas in there without it puking at me. So that was significant enough to say we're on the right path, and it's 100% the problem is venting in the tank. So as far as work goes in the Bonneville, I kind of screwed the pooch. I thought I ordered the correct fittings I needed, but unfortunately, as everybody knows, when you deal with AN fittings, you really don't know what you need until you actually start kind of having stuff in your hand and piecing it together. And so this weekend, what I'm going to be doing is I'm going to be putting the headers in. I'm going to be putting the exhaust in. I have to redo the transpan because somehow it's I didn't like the seal I got, and I should have known better. I used the seal that came in the kit, and it's just shit. So I'm going to go back to the cork style gasket that I always use that never fails and redo that. I'm going to put the exhaust in. I'm going to bolt up the crossmember because right now I just got bolts in there holding it. I'm going to go ahead and finalize the AC panel. We're going to go ahead and tonight I'm going to cut up the bumper, the reinforcements for the bumper, cut them up, and I'm going to install the rear bumper on, the lights. I'm going to put the rear seat back on and just start doing some assembly work on this car. I really wanted to get the fuel lines done, but I'm realizing that my project with the fuel tank and going to half-inch lines is not as simple and clean-cut as I wanted it to be. I'm going to have to end up buying a bulkhead, and I'm going to have to end up making something for a pickup. I'll give you guys my idea later. It's crazy, but I'm positive it's going to work. For a pickup, it's going to be a little bit of work, but I'm going to have to add a bulkhead to the front of the tank with a line dropping down. And it's the easiest way to add a half-inch line. And I'm just going to end up using the 3/8 line on the sending unit for a return. And then the other lines are going to be used for ventilation in the tank along with the modification of the neck. And from there, I did not get around to ordering hinges. Hopefully next week I order them. With everything going on right now, I'm trying to not spend a lot of money and spend it wisely, and it's hard because I thought I got everything to get my tank back in and everything, and it's just not going to work. So a little bit of a delay. We still got time. This coronavirus thing is not going to go away anytime soon, so we got time, and we have to ultimately work smart. So really, it's a lot of assembly. Once I get the hinges on, I can put everything back on in the front, do the wiring. We really don't got a whole lot besides that. I am going to start work on the hood this weekend. We're going to do a video on that. Nothing crazy, but we're going to start on that. At least do the preliminary steps to be able to put the hood on the car and fit it. And I'll share with you guys what we're going to do with that. So hopefully you guys are still enjoying the videos. I know things have gotten a little bland as if we've hit some of the less interesting parts of our project. It's just assembly. So guys, share, like, subscribe, follow along. I think I mentioned it last week, but I killed the Facebook page. It just wasn't worth the effort. I still post a lot of things on Instagram. I do have a personal Facebook page, but I'm trying to have different degrees of separation between my personal life, what I like to share with my friends, what I want to share with you guys. And if there's things you guys want me to share, if you see things or have questions, let me know, because ultimately I'm doing this to share my experiences with you guys. And you know, we're steadily still chipping at it, and we're very lucky for that. And I'm very lucky to still, my wife and I both are essential, and we're both still working, so we're very lucky for that. And hopefully you guys out there are still hanging in there. You guys are doing well, staying safe, and ultimately all I can say is I wish everybody gets out of this clean, because it's tough times. And I could go out and get everything I need, but I can't. I have to work smart. As always, we're always on budgets, and we have to hot rod smart here. So I'll let you guys go. Share, like, subscribe, invite your buddies, tell your friends, give us some love. We'll see you around.